Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. The day is finally here, all you minties. This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for your advanced look at the Ghost Rider Danny Ketch Omnibus Volume 1 from Marvel Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, before going any further, a big thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advance copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on September 17th or 18th, depending on where you get your books. And what we're looking at here is the direct market cover by Mark Texeira. And on the left-hand side is the standard edition cover, also by Mark Texeira. And one other thing is that the spines are different, showing a different image on the spines. So depending on which one you get, the direct market or the book market, that will determine which spine you will end up getting. But everything underneath the dust jacket is the same. So we are going to bring it back to this. It is finally here. Oh my gosh. It's crazy to think about that this is only the third Ghost Rider omnibus. And if you're collecting Ghost Rider in omnibus format, this is the way it will look on your shelf, with Danny Ketch being the earliest Ghost Rider collected. There's nothing before it. No Johnny Blaze era, no Phantom Rider era. But also there's so much in between this and the Danny Ketch and Johnny Blaze in the Ghost Rider by Aaron. And then, of course, Cosmic Ghost Rider almost being a different character. But I did want to put them together in case you're like, oh, how does this even read? Keep in mind, this is well over a decade after this is written, and then this is about 2 decades after this. Now, this was previously released in an Epic collection, and I remember when I did an overview of the Epic, I was like, oh, you guys beat us to it. You Epic guys beat us to this. How did we let this happen? But here we go. But now it's here and has a lot more content than this particular Epic collection. But let's go ahead and take a look at the spine here. You have the Marvel Omnibus logo, Danny Ketch, Ghost Rider, Mackie, Saltares, Texeira, Volume 1, and that image of Ghost Rider right there. And then the back of the book, a fan favorite, Era of Vengeance. Absolutely, this was my era of Ghost Rider. And then you have a little blurb about the stories in here, and then what is collected in here, the ISBN, and retailing for $125. So let's get it out of the dust jacket. One other note is, like, when people ask me like what cover I decide to get, I had to go with this one because this one brings it back home for me. This is from issue number 16, and there's a reason why, and I'll explain as I open the book. A Spirit Reborn over here on the left-hand side of the flaps, and then on the right-hand side of the flaps, you have the Ghost Rider image, as well as the creators, little bio on the creators there. And then you have this image right here of Ghost Rider, and I love the way that this looks like a negative. And he's on that badass bike, but it's the classic bike. It's not the bike that we're used to seeing him, and there's a story in here why he's on that bike. So we are going to crack the book open and talk about the stories found in here, check out this wonderful artwork, and just reminisce about this era. And then, of course, look at the extras and the build of the book. All right, let's go ahead and crack this book open. And here we have your title page, Danny Ketch, Ghost Rider Volume 1. I love that. Danny Ketch, Ghost Rider Volume 1, with all of the credits right here. Howard Mackie, Todd McFarlane, Mike Barron, Chris Cooper, Joey Caviari, and other writers. And then you have pencilers like Javier Saltares, Mark Texeira. You know, from this moment on, we're just going to call the man Tex. That's what he likes to be called anyway. Todd McFarlane, Mark Bagley, Larry Stroman, John Romita Jr., Rick Leonardi, just to name a few. And then your inkers, you have Tex, Jimmy Palmiotti, Todd McFarlane, Jairi Candelario, Tom Palmer, Mark McKenna. Down here is Gregory Wright, Christy Shealy, and Joe Rosas as your colorists. And then your letterers, Michael Hazler, Janice Chang, Rick Parker, and Jim Nomek, and other letterers here. And then you have your table of contents where you're going to find each of these stories, when they were originally published. Ghost Rider number 1, May 1990, Life's Blood. So you actually have the title of the issue, and then where you're going to find it in what page. So it starts off in page 6. So collected in here for the first time in an omnibus format is the Ghost Rider 1990 series, issues 1 through 24. Spider-Man, that's adjectively Spider-Man as we used to call it back in the day, issue 6 and 7. Mark Spector Moon Knight, issue number 25. And then you also have Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme number 28. And then also Punisher War Journal 29 through 30, Ghost Rider Wolverine Punisher Hearts of Darkness, and then material for Marvel Holiday Special number 1, and Marvel Comics Presents 64 through 71 and 90 to 118. The book has 1,216 pages and retails for $125. So, what is the origin of this Ghost Rider, and do you need to have read anything beforehand? When I mentioned Johnny Blaze, I even mentioned the Phantom Rider, as he's being called these days. No, you don't need to have read any of that to enjoy this. This actually does an amazing job of starting over and introducing you to these newer characters. This was my first taste of Ghost Rider. There's a particular issue in here that features X-Factor, which was my first Ghost Rider comic. And then I tried to get some back issues and eventually started going with issue number 16, which is why I decided to pick that cover. Oh, man. Bringing it back home. All right, so this is all the story of Danny Ketch and his sister Barb, who are trying to find Houdini's grave. They're at Cypress Hills Cemetery, and they they accidentally bump into this group of the Cypress Hill, I think they're called the Jokers, and they're just a bunch of thieves, a bunch of kids. But there's something serious going on at the Cypress Hill Cemetery. It is a death match between these two groups of villains. You have Death Watch on one end, and then you have people representing Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. And what's happening is they're all after this particular case. And Death Watch is like, no, you're not going to get it. Now, this guy that he's about to strangle to death ends up ripping his mask off, and these kids, including Barb and Danny, have seen his face. So he's like, okay, they've seen my face, kill them, and that's what happens. That's what starts this. So they're at the cemetery. Danny gets away. One of the kids, one of the Jokers, ends up stealing one of the important canister that Death Watch was after, and Danny ends up taking his sister to a junkyard where he finds a motorcycle, and it's a beautiful motorcycle. And when he touches the gas cap of this motorcycle that is glowing, that's when he becomes the spirit of vengeance with fire wheels and everything. And man, tell me that is not a badass image. Oh, it's so good. Now, Javier Saltares is drawing the issue here, but you have Tex inking it, and there's a certain beauty and grittiness and darkness that they just bring together. It's amazing. I love this era of Ghost Rider. So he takes his sister to the hospital, and he's after those people that harmed her. The police they don't really know what to do with him. They're like, there's a dude with a flaming skull that is out there riding around, and what are we going to do? Oh, I don't know. He could be a vigilante. He could be a villain. Now, we learn a little bit more about Death Watch and what he is, and he works for the International Contractors Unlimited. So he's kind of like a businessman, just has a really cool costume. And Kingpin wants to get that canister back. Now, what's inside of this case are these venomous poison that they can unleash around, because that's what villains were doing anytime in the 90s. They want to unleash it on the world. So Barb's at the hospital. Unfortunately, she's comatose. And then we get to meet a little more about Danny Ketch's supporting cast. We get to see his mom. We get to see his girlfriend, Stacy. And just what kind of character he is when he's not turning into the Spirit of Vengeance. Because he turned into the Spirit of Vengeance pretty quickly. Like, it doesn't take no time within those pages. They did not miss a beat. So he decides to go back and find this motorcycle and take it to try to find these guys to kind of get revenge, because even though he is not the Spirit of Vengeance, maybe just a host, he still has the Spirit of Vengeance in him. So when he touches the gas cap, he turns again into Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. So this is when he goes after Death Watch's folks and takes them all out. And Barb is unfortunately still at the hospital. Now, issue 2, we're introduced to a new villain, and that is this maniac this murderer named Blackout. Now, Blackout is also working with Death Watch, and he wants these particular canisters back, so he's trying to get information from the cops, he's trying to get information from the Cypress Hill Jokers, and it doesn't matter who he has to kill, whether it's police officers, whether it's family men, whether it's children, it doesn't matter. So Ghost Rider kind of catches his scent and goes after him, and we get to see this fight that carries on for a couple of issues, and I promise I'm not going to go through every issue. It's just a lot of fun looking back at these particular stories. Issue 4 sees the fight with Mr. Hyde, because, hey, what are you going to do, right? Like, there's a new Marvel superhero, let's put him up against some villains, some classic villains. This is another one of the supporting cast members. This is his buddy Jack, who owns a bike shop, and then eventually, hey, speaking of more superheroes that need to meet each other, we have this Jim Lee cover right here. Beautiful. Now, Volume 2, no official announcement, but let's hope this sells well enough to get a Volume 2. We'll have the crossover issues 26 and 27 with the Adjectiveless X-Men, which, of course, has been collected in the X-Men by Chris Claremont and Jim Lee Omnibus Volume 2, but, you know, we need this full. So we still have him just serving vengeance on people, and Punisher kind of mistakes him for like a villain, and he's like, you're selling guns to Kid, and Punisher's like, what are you talking about, man? I'm one of the good guys. So at first it's a fight, and then the team up, and they go up against Flag Smasher and his goons. The next one is important because this is issue number 7, and this is the first time that Mark Texeira Tex, there we go, actually got to draw Ghost Rider by himself. Not inking, but drawing it all. And this is the big fight against Scarecrow. Now, something huge and important happens in this issue that shows what kind of character that Danny is. And him trying to get rid of the spirit of vengeance. Like, he doesn't want it anymore. It's cost him a lot of harm. Let's bring it to this. And here we have my first issue of Ghost Rider, and I bought it because it was X Factor. And let me tell you how upset I was that Warren was not in this freaking issue, but it made me check out this character, and I was like, man, that bike is so badass. I kind of want to follow this character. And I went back and I got issue number 1, but this was my very first issue. I wasn't getting it monthly. That doesn't happen for a while. And we get more Blackout fights. Now, Ghost Rider damages Blackout, so Blackout wants revenge for what he did to his face. And this is when he goes full ballistic, like goes crazy. No matter what, he's not going to stop. He's going to murder whoever he has to. We have the crossover with Spider-Man here, where Hobgoblin decides to start a cult. It's like a church, and his first disciple is this kid named Adam. And so it's Spider-Man and Ghost Rider teaming up against Hobgoblin while they go and rescue this kid. And then we have the team up between Ghost Rider and Wolverine. Now, around this time, this is also really interesting because they have not collected the issues of the New Fantastic Four, which have been collected in the Arthur Adams Omnibus, but I feel like it would have made sense in here. I know it's not much of a Ghost Rider story, but maybe like a page or two, because that's where the team up, or the New Fantastic Four, are Ghost Rider, Danny Ketch, of course, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Punisher. No, not Punisher, Hulk. But you have that beautiful new group of Fantastic Four to replace the original. This is a fight against Death Watch and his goons in the Marvel Comics Presents, and again, Tex doing the artwork here completely without any, like, having to ink anybody's art. So it's really nice to see him cut loose before he ends up taking over the book. This is the Moon Knight team up where he goes and fights against this character named Plasm. Mark Bagley doing that particular artwork in there. So it's cool to see the Spirit of Vengeance and the Fist of Khonshu team up. And then we go back to Ghost Rider, your previously released Ghost Rider. Now, when we come back to the single issues of Ghost Rider, we do see Danny and company. It's not a team up. It's kind of an ongoing story, still figuring out exactly what this spirit is. This is one of my favorite issues because this is actually Larry Stroman doing the pencils and then Tex doing the inks, and it just looks so wicked. And of course, this is the story with Nightmare, and that's exactly what happens. He ends up giving Danny nightmares. Now we have this particular fight against not just Doctor Strange, but also Rintrah, his disciple here. Wait, not really a disciple, more like a pupil. There we go, that's better. And then Topaz. As they try to take out Ghost Rider. But of course, it's not really Ghost Rider that they're after. And a lot of it has to do with who Ghost Rider was at one time, which is a little bit of the history that you'll get to learn through this very omnibus. So when you have the character of Johnny Blaze come into this book, which he starts showing up around this era right here. So we start seeing, this is the fight against Snowblind right here, who will come back later on. But what I was saying is, when you are introduced to the character, or reintroduced to some people, of Johnny Blaze, yes, right here, you get the backstory. You get that he used to be the host of Ghost Rider, that particular Ghost Rider was this demon known as Serathos, and it took over, and it was supposed to be like evil, and this is everything you learn through here without having read any of the classic stuff. And of course, you'll want to revisit the classic stuff. That's available right now in Marvel Masterworks, and then of course they kicked it off with the Epic Collections. But in here you get to see kind of this side of Johnny Blaze, who doesn't really trust Ghost Rider because he thinks he's a demon, and it is the same demon that used him. And what's interesting about this is that he gets a weapon through here from Ghost Rider when he's trying to use his powers on him. He puts the Hellfire on him, but the Hellfire travels from his shotgun to his body, and he ends up having this weapon called the Hellfire gun. And I was like, man, that is so wicked. So that is one of the characters that will be a supporting cast of Ghost Rider, and that is Johnny Blaze. So you have kind of like the original Ghost Rider here from the 70s, and then you've got the new Ghost Rider, this punk kid from the 90s. The Hobgoblin makes a return, and he takes somebody very personal to Ghost Rider, and he wants her back. And then we have the other story here with the Punisher. So now this is the Punisher War Journal, and in Punisher War Journal, it's about the team up between Ghost Rider and Microchip against this villain known as Straker. And then we get the... oh, this is the team up with Cable in the Marvel Comics Presents. This is about an undead cult. Another cult. There's a lot of cults during this particular time. But this time it's Cable helping out this young girl against this undead deity. And then we get Hearts of Darkness. And Hearts of Darkness is a story that has been collected in the Wolverine Omnibus. And I assume whenever we get to Punisher Omnibus one day of this era, we'll have it collected there. It is drawn by John Romita Jr. with Klaus Janson doing the inks. And it is the fight of these three characters against Blackheart. So all it is just Wolverine, Ghost Rider, and Punisher trying to fight Blackheart in Christ's Crown, which is apparently the place that holds a very special meaning to the character of Blackheart. But written by, of course, Howard Mackie, who was writing the ongoing Ghost Rider. So some of the elements from here come into play in the ongoing Ghost Rider series. This is from the Marvel, Holiday Special. And the Holiday Special is all about how Ghost Rider reunites this young boy with his family. We do have this weird character. I think in the end we end up calling him Suicide. And Suicide and this other character that has been plaguing Ghost Rider for a while, known as the Zodiac, or just Zodiac rather with a K, team up to try to take down Ghost Rider. And it's somebody manipulating both of those characters. So I'm skipping a little bit so you can keep reading for yourself. But by now Tex is the full-blown artist on the book. And this is what the gorgeous art looks like. We still have people blaming Ghost Rider for being at fault, being the one that is responsible for kidnappings and murders. And, Danny Ketch is watching television going, wait a minute, that's not me. Now we have Death Watch. He has a couple goons that have helped him out here. This is Troll and Hag. And again, more of the Ghost Rider ongoing series. And then we have the Marvel Comics Presents stories back here. These are other team-up books. And one of them here, there's a bunch of little demons. But this one here, it's like a crossover between all these titles that were featured in issue 100 of Marvel Comics Presents. So you have Ghost Rider and Wolverine, and they're up against the same kind of villain. This is the team up here with Doctor Strange. And this is where they end up fighting a demon. This is the character of Gorn. And Rick Leonardi supplying the artwork through here. I really like his take on Ghost Rider and Doctor Strange. There's also the team up with Werewolf by Night against, what are they called? The Brain Eaters, I think. And one of their own is named Scuzz. All these names from the 90s. And then the team up with Iron Fist. The team up with Iron Fist is against these group of other demons known as the Legions of Vengeance. Those guys right there. And that really wraps up the omnibus. So we go all the way to issue number 24, giving us a perfect jumping on point for volume 2. We have the Marvel Age stuff in here, like what's to come. Marvel Age 108. This is talking about Hearts of Darkness. Is that the same Punisher picture? That's awesome. More artwork from John Romita Jr. And then this is the extras here. So you have 1991 year in review. This is the Ghost Rider 15 glow in the dark cover, which was so awesome to have. I don't remember this poster by Javier Saltares. Over Street Price. Man, all these books that are no longer around. The Jim Lee cover right here, the original art, and then you have Javier Saltares with text on inks right there. And the glow-in-the-dark cover. Love this original art. You have some Todd McFarlane stuff here. And this is by Steve Lytle. And Resurrect, I forgot there was a trade paperback. There were classics that were released, but I forgot that Resurrected was one of the trade paperbacks. And this is a Resurrected trade paperback pinup by Tex and Jimmy Palmiotti. Wow, there's a couple of pinups. And Resurrected Afterward by Howard Mackey. This is from the Doctor Strange issue that's collected in here. So it's that Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme issue number 28. It was a direct market only, so they had to like collect it where everybody gets a chance to read it, because direct market were only sold through comic book stores. And some more reprints here. And let me tell you, like, this is some more of the trade paperback covers in your end sheets. Back then, Ghost Rider was so huge, they actually started reprinting the classic Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider comics, because they were hoping that people would go and buy those reprinted issues. Not quite facsimiles with the ads, but they just reprinted stories from that era. That's how big this was. So the book has 1,216 pages. This one has sewn binding, just like most Omnis these days, but I like to be thorough with my overviews. And this is printed at the Donley printer. It's got thicker paper stock than what we've seen in the past, of course. There's very minimal bleed through, but it is there. I mean, just gotta kind of look for it if you want to. And as far as the way the book lays over, I just wanted an excuse to come back at this splash page. Oh, I love it. Okay, let's find a spread. This gives you an idea of what the spread looks like. So, very minimal gutter loss. But that is it. That is our very first Danny Ketch omnibus. I hope there's more. I hope there's Johnny Blaze. Hell, I'll even take Robbie Reyes. We don't have an Omni of that guy. But that's it. That, as they say, is that. So yeah, that was my very first ongoing. After that moment, I collected Ghost Rider, and that's why I was like, oh, I gotta get that cover. Plus, it features the badassness of Johnny Blaze, too. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors. BD Cosmos, the Canadian leader in graphic novels. They have a physical storefront in Montreal, Quebec, and their website, bdcosmos.com, offers 25% off your order of over $99 or more, and free shipping everywhere in Canada for every order of $200 or more.
Their shipping care is exceptional. Your books will stay cozy through the rough Canadian weather and arrive to you in near mint condition.
After checkout, let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way, and you'll be added to the monthly $25 gift card raffle. Entries are valid for new and returning customers.
Don't be afraid to call or email them. Ask them questions. Their staff is always happy to help guide you towards the right purchase. Visit their website, bdcosmos.com, for more. BD Cosmos, with rewards and raffles taking care of customers in Canada. Eh?
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. Let me know in the comments down below if you are picking this up, if you have the Epic collection and you're going to continue it that way, or if you're going in completely blind because you've loved the character design of Ghost Rider, you know very little about it, well, the mythos and all that. So I hope I was able to help with this video. But yeah, if you're going in completely blind, which cover did you get? And that's it, everybody. Questions, leave them down below. Don't forget to check us out on Patreon and Spreadshop. Amazing ways to support the channel. Everyone stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.